What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved stars walks onto a late-night talk show and gets mocked, right on air, for believing in God? The cameras were rolling, the crowd was laughing, and the host thought he had the upper hand. But what Keanu Reeves said next stunned everyone into silence. No scripts. No acting. Just raw truth. In a world where faith is often laughed at, this unexpected moment turned into something no one saw coming, a heart-stopping exchange that left an entire studio speechless. Stay with us, because this isn't just a celebrity moment. It's a story that might just shift something inside you, too. The crowd laughed. Bright lights gleamed across the polished stage, applause signs blinked above the audience, and multiple cameras zoomed in, capturing every expression. It was just another evening on one of America's top-rated late-night talk shows, known for its humor, sarcasm, and viral moments. The host, a seasoned entertainer infamous for his sharp tongue and unapologetic atheist views, leaned in toward his guest with a sly smirk on his face. "Keanu," he said, his voice laced with amusement, "you're a deep thinker, a reader of philosophy. You're too smart to still believe in God, aren't you?" The crowd chuckled nervously. Some genuinely laughed at the jab. Others shifted in their seats, sensing this wasn't going to be a typical celebrity exchange. All eyes turned to Keanu Reeves. Dressed in his usual understated black suit, he sat calmly, hands resting on his lap. Known for his quiet presence, thoughtful nature, and near-mythical humility, he didn't flinch. He didn't smile, didn't break eye contact. Instead, he just stared back at the host, his expression unreadable. The silence that followed was longer than anyone expected. What was supposed to be a light-hearted dig had turned into something heavier. Even the host's smirk began to fade slightly. The audience, sensing the shift, grew silent. The energy in the room changed. And then, Keanu finally spoke. Not with anger. Not with defensiveness. But with a calm that felt unshakable. And what he said next didn't just stun the host, it shifted the mood of the entire room. Keanu leaned back in his chair, his posture relaxed, but his words carried a quiet intensity. His voice, calm yet steady, cut through the silence that had fallen over the studio. "You know," he began slowly, "I've buried people I love. I've watched death take the kindest souls I've ever known. I've lived through grief so heavy it made it hard to breathe. And yet, I've seen peace rise in the middle of that darkness. I've seen moments of hope when there was absolutely no logical reason for any." His eyes didn't blink, didn't shift. He wasn't trying to impress. He was simply telling the truth. The crowd, moments ago full of chuckles and whispers, had gone completely quiet. You could hear a pin drop. Keanu continued, his voice softer now, but still full of conviction. "I'm not religious in the way people often mean it. I don't follow all the rituals, I don't have all the answers. But faith isn't always about religion. Sometimes, it's simply the refusal to believe that everything ends at the grave. That the people we love vanish forever. That all the suffering we go through is meaningless." The host, who had expected a witty comeback or awkward silence, found himself staring at something else entirely. A raw, unfiltered glimpse into a man who had lived, lost, and still chosen to believe. His smile faded, replaced by something more uncertain. Because this wasn't a rehearsed celebrity response. This wasn't a headline moment. This was something real. Something human. Keanu paused for a moment, letting the silence settle before he turned to the host with a look of sincere warmth. "Can I tell you a story?" he asked gently, his voice low and respectful. The host, still slightly stunned by the direction of the conversation, gave a small nod. He wasn't used to moments like this, raw, unscripted, and deeply human. Keanu leaned forward just a bit, his eyes reflecting something distant yet tender. "There was a homeless man I met once years ago, in downtown LA. He had nothing, no roof over his head, no clean clothes, barely any food. He slept under a bridge and carried everything he owned in a plastic bag. And yet, every single morning, like clockwork, he would sit on the curb and share whatever food he could find with a stray dog. Half a sandwich. Sometimes just a cracker. Half for him, half for the dog." Keanu's voice softened, almost like he was reliving the memory. "One day I asked him, why? I mean, he had so little himself. Why share it?" Keanu paused. And he said something I'll never forget, because when I feed him, I don't feel alone. And neither does he. The studio was silent. Not a cough, not a shuffle. Keanu looked slowly across the audience, his words hanging in the air. That's faith. It's not about having all the answers. It's believing that love still matters. That kindness still matters. Especially when you have nothing else to give. The host didn't speak. His trademark smirk had vanished, and the usual sparkle of control in his eyes was replaced by something more vulnerable. No witty comeback came to mind, no clever joke to lighten the mood. He looked down at the cue cards in his hand, but suddenly they felt meaningless, just paper with scripted lines for a moment that no longer fit the script. His hands trembled ever so slightly. In the background, a soft sniffle broke the silence. Someone in the back row wiped a tear from their cheek. Another audience member quietly reached for a tissue, moved not by spectacle, but by something genuine. The buzz of lights overhead, the shine of polished floors, the bright Hollywood set, all of it faded into irrelevance. For a few fragile minutes, it wasn't about entertainment or ratings or applause. Keanu Reeves, without raising his voice or preaching, had taken everyone to a place far more personal. He had reached through the noise and touched something buried deep in every heart. It wasn't a conversation about religion anymore. It wasn't about belief versus disbelief. It was about being human, about the wounds we carry, the people we've lost, the moments that break us, and the mysterious, unexplainable hope that somehow, something beautiful can still rise from all of it. That love still matters. That kindness still means something. And in a world so full of noise, that quiet truth landed louder than any punchline ever could. After a long, heavy pause, the host finally looked up, his eyes softer than they had been all night. The sarcasm had drained from his voice, replaced by something raw and unfiltered. "You know, Keanu," he began, slowly choosing his words, "I used to believe. I really did. Before I lost my brother. Before life got loud." His voice cracked ever so slightly at the end. Keanu didn't interrupt. He didn't offer empty comfort or fill the silence. He just nodded gently, giving space for the moment to breathe. The host took a shaky breath. "I mocked you tonight," he admitted, his gaze distant, as if he were seeing his own pain for the first time in years. "But maybe I wasn't mocking your faith. Maybe I was mocking my own fear. The fear that hope is foolish. That believing in something more just leads to heartbreak." The audience exhaled collectively, the sound of unspoken emotions being quietly released. And in that shared silence, something truly powerful happened. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't planned. But it was real. What started as just another celebrity interview had shifted into something deeper, a moment of honest reflection, not just for the people on stage, but for everyone watching. Sometimes, a conversation on a flashy set under bright studio lights becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a mirror, revealing what we've hidden, our grief, our longing, our forgotten faith. And in that moment, the world didn't see an actor. They saw a man of quiet strength, a warrior of peace. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that like button. Speech Balloon, share this video with someone who needs a little hope today. Bell and subscribe for more real, powerful stories that touch the heart and feed the soul. Because sometimes, all it takes is one story to change how we see the world.